You ever hit post, share something way too personal, and 5 minutes later you're lying in bed thinking, why did I tell the entire internet that? If that's you, it's not because you're dramatic or attention seeking. There is a very specific psychology behind why we confess so much online, and why it feels addictive, even when it keeps hurting us. Stay with me for the next few minutes and you'll understand why oversharing gives you a temporary high, how the apps are quietly training you to do it, and how to stop turning your real pain into free content for strangers. A few years ago, if you wanted to vent, you wrote in a journal. Now you open an app. Social media turned our phones into a global confessional booth. But there's a big difference. A journal listens. The internet reacts. Every like, comment, and "you're so strong" notification hits your brain with a tiny dopamine spike. It mimics the feeling of being deeply heard, without the work of an actual conversation. So when you're lonely, angry, or hurt, your brain remembers, last time I dumped my feelings on Instagram, I felt relief. Do that again. That's not you being weak. That's basic reward learning. Pain, post, validation, repeat. There's also something called the online disinhibition effect. In real life, if you cried about your breakup to a stranger in a cafe, you'd instantly feel how weird that is. Online, that social friction disappears. You're staring at a screen, often alone at 1 a.m. No eye contact, no awkward silence, just a text box that says, "What's on your mind?" On top of that, creators you follow are modeling oversharing as bravery and authenticity. They cry on camera, talk about trauma, and get millions of views. Your brain learns a second rule. Sharing my deepest wounds equals connection and clout. When platforms start paying people for views, your most private pain quietly becomes a potential asset. Not just "this hurt me," but "this might perform well." Oversharing works for about 10 minutes. You post something raw, notifications explode. People comment, "I feel this so much," and "you're so strong for sharing." Short term, you feel seen, special, maybe even powerful. Long term, there's a hidden cost. First, your personal history is now permanent public record. A breakup, a relapse, a panic attack, all archived, searchable, screenshotable. Second, your self-worth starts to depend on external metrics. Not "am I healing," but "did this confession get enough likes?" And when the next vulnerable post doesn't perform as well, your brain reads that as rejection. Maybe my pain isn't interesting anymore. Maybe I'm not interesting anymore. That's the validation paradox. You share to feel less alone, but become more dependent on strangers to feel okay. Quick pause. If you're finding this uncomfortably relatable, hit like so this reaches more people who need it, and so you remember you're not the only one doing this. There's another layer no one talks about. Online, we're rewarded for being relatable, so we start editing our pain into a story that's easy to binge. You cut out the boring parts of healing. You keep the crying clips, the shocking details, the dramatic plot twists. Suddenly, your trauma isn't just something you survived, it's part of your personal brand. The danger? Real life can't compete with that storyline. Friends might feel like they're watching your life, not living it with you. Offline relationships can actually weaken, while random followers know more about your panic attacks than your family does. You end up with thousands of people who know your secrets and still feel weirdly unknown. So what do you do if you recognize yourself in this? Think of your life in 3 circles. Circle 1, public. Light opinions, hobbies, surface-level updates, safe for the timeline. Circle 2, personal. Feelings, struggles, ongoing stories. These belong in group chats, close friends lists, voice notes with people you actually trust. Circle 3, private. The stuff that still feels raw, confusing, or unresolved. This is for your therapist, your journal, or that one friend who actually shows up in person. If you're about to post something deep, ask yourself 3 quick questions. 1, would I be okay if this post was the first thing an employer, an ex, or my future kids saw about me? 2, am I sharing this to connect or to get a hit of validation? 3, have I already talked about this with at least one real person offline? If the answer is no to all 3, that's your sign. This belongs in circle 2 or 3, not on the main feed. Because the truth is, the most healing conversations you'll ever have will happen in rooms the internet will never see.